Just
Okay.
about. Okay. Hey, this is kitchen, chicken,
Hey,
kitchen
Lou.
table, progressive, singular. Used to be plural, but we are
Never mind that part.
we're cutting down. We're cutting back. It's
Yeah.
austerity time. We
Austerity. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
austerity.
that's
Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
that's why we have to cut back on our.
Table progressive. Yeah, that's right. It's a movement. It's a
Yeah,
movement.
we're getting ready for extreme
Big
poverty.
plans, a big expansion. Have to cut. We have to trim back some things in order to expand others.
Yeah, and some things need to belong to somebody else, not us.
That's right. So, well, the big talk of the is of course not to bore everyone again. I know
I'm bored.
our listener is not bored, but the debt ceiling
Uh-huh.
is on everybody's lips.
The ceiling is getting lower.
The water, the ceiling's getting lower. That's right. And
Uh-huh.
I think it's a concrete ceiling. So what is going to happen? Um,
Imminent death of those you care about.
well, it may.
Oh, well, they probably deserve it anyway. So don't feel.
I would think a lot of people who die do deserve it. Yes,
Yeah,
they
you can't
deserve it. A
let
few, yeah,
especially poor people.
especially poor people. Yeah, well, that's well,
They didn't work hard enough, so ipso facto, they must be eliminated.
wasn't there a band called Ipso Fatso or something?
Ipso facto, that would be
I think
great.
there was, so we've been to the well. It seems like we've been to the cliff, the edge of the cliff, many times before with the Republicans, but apparently this has only happened, I guess, once in 2011, right? It was with Obama, and it was this. Although this every time the Republicans have the House or they, yeah, it has to have happened before because they do this every time they have the House control of the House of Representatives. That there's the big threat about cuts. Well, yeah, okay, that's right. Remember John Boehner? They in Obama's day they would not give him a budget, and that's how he got the sequester. Was that it was actually Barack Obama said because the Republicans have not allowed a budget to pass a presidential. The president proposes the budget. The last president to propose a budget that was signed into law was guess who? George W. Bush in 2000, the last year of his presidency, when the Democrats were in control of Congress. George W. Bush's budget was signed into law. He signed it was approved by the Congress and signed into law. Since then, all 2 terms of Barack Obama, the Republicans filibustered in the Senate, even when the Democrats had control of the House. They filibustered his budget. They never passed a budget, and they never passed a budget for Trump either. That's why we have always had these omnibus spending bills. We always have these because we don't have a law. A budget is a law that outlines revenues and expenditures. So we have not had a budget in 15 years. And now the Republicans are saying, no, we're not going to, you have to cut spending in all these places. And, we're not.
But not the places we don't want them cut. Like we don't want to scale back on the tax cuts. And we do
Right.
want.
And they don't want to cut back on the military.
Yeah.
Which is totally bloated, and I don't care. Both sides do it. The military budget has been bloated. Well, I guess probably since Eisenhower said it was going to become bloated. But what was the 60 Minutes thing last week that said that of our 800, and I guess it's 800. Keep hitting different numbers. I thought it was 858 billion. Is what passed Congress last year. Half of that goes to military contractors. So 429 $429 billion goes into the pockets of military contractors. And I got news for people. Military contracts are entitlements. They are actually defined as entitlements. How could that be? Oh, well, because there was a Supreme Court case in 1970, which was known as Goldberg versus Kelly. Now, this had to do with welfare, whether or not you were entitled to a hearing before one's welfare benefits were discontinued. And it turns out the Supreme Court ruled that you are, because welfare benefits, even though they are an entitlement, they are based on need. An entitlement is something that one doesn't pay directly into. So this is why Social Security and Medicare are not entitlements, because they're earned benefits. You pay directly into Social Security and Medicare with your what's called FICA on your paycheck, your Federal Insurance Contribution Act. But if you don't pay directly into something, for instance, we all pay into it welfare or whatever with our tax dollars. But if we don't pay directly into it, but we can qualify for it if we apply and meet the criteria of the application, we are entitled to it. That's why it's called an entitlement. Military contracts, the contractors apply for them, and they get the bid. And you see, the thing about the product that they make, it's saleable only to the United States government. They can't just sell these products out on. They say, oh well, we didn't get the contract for the giant 2,000-pound bombs. We'll just sell them at the Army surplus stores. No, you can't do it that way. They have to sell.
Wait a minute. Are you saying I can't buy a bomb if I need to?
Well, we are arguing about that.
Am I right to bear bombs?
we should, in case we have to fight against a tyrannical government, we need to have
Amendment Section 7.
Yeah, right.
My bombs, my life.
My bomb, my life.
My
That's
bombs.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want that to go. We want to be able to offer free 2,000-pound bombs with the purchase of 10 AR-15s. So
it's just a 1 ton. That's all it is. I can carry it in my hatchback. I can get it. If I need to drive into the fence at the White House, I can do it. That will work. And
so, yeah, military contracts are entitlements, just like all the other entitlements that the Republicans want to cut, but they don't want to cut. They want more money for their military contractor entitlement programs.
Okay, but here's the thing: is entitlement is another word that the Republicans have turned from just a word into a dirty word.
Right.
And like when I hear it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to throw up. And then I think, why am I going to throw up? Because they poisoned that word. They put poison in it. Just like the word woke used to be a perfectly happy word. I mean, I didn't like to wake up early, but I wanted to wake up eventually, but now it's all ruined. And remember how the conservatives said that gay people have wrecked the word gay? Well, now the conservatives have wrecked the word gay again. How can that happen? I'm like, boom, 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 bad, bad, bad. And that's a happy word, like woke and entitled. Yeah. I'm entitled to that. That used to be a great statement to make.
Being woke
or entitled. I'm entitled to that money. It belongs to me. But now it's
you are if you apply for it and you
now
qualify.
It's something, like alms to the poor somehow.
Right.
What went wrong?
Well, and now they apply entitlement to exactly what's not an entitlement, which is Social Security, Medicare. Those are earned benefits that you pay into.
Yeah, but it's negative. You pay into it your whole life, but then when you want to take it, somehow you're taking more than you're due, even though it's exactly what you're due.
Right. That's right. And not only that, the Social Security does not contribute to the national debt. It's not even part of. It has been put on the books and off the books from time to time, but Social Security is its own account, its own trust fund. And I think the reason that the Republicans want to cut Social Security is because It's not because it's unsustainable. It's because at this time, right now, Social Security has maxed out at a $3 trillion surplus in the Social Security Trust Fund. The Social Security Trust Fund normally doesn't have a surplus in it, but way back in 1983, Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, the Democratic Speaker of the House, agreed to raise the FICA tax from 4% to 6.2% for each the employee and the employer contribute equally 6.2%. And that is so that the baby boomers would pay for themselves. And so it accumulated this trust. It should have been more, but wages have been, of course, stagnant for so long that wages have been low. But it still has $3 trillion in it. Now, what would the Republicans still have their heart set on privatizing Social Security and letting the banksters take hold of that fund? But they don't. As of now, it's going to start drawing down and scheduled to drop off to zero in the year about 2033 or, about 10 or 11 years from now. Now, zero doesn't mean they keep telling, it's going to be bankrupt. No, Social Security never had a surplus. But this $3 trillion will be drawn down, and they're afraid it's going to get drawn down before they can get their hands on it, see? And so they want to.
Should we be looking for something like Social Security Advantage in the near future?
Yeah, that's exactly what. Yes, that is what they're going to propose. Hey, why not pay into it there? See, but they're going to want to get a hold of those treasury bonds, those special issue treasury bonds that are they say, the Social Security Trust Fund is just made up of worthless IOUs anyway. And I'm like, well, if treasury bonds are worthless IOUs, you got bigger problems than you know about.
And can I have some of those?
Not only that, the Social Security Trust Fund is a creditor of the national debt. So if they cut Social Security, they can slow down how fast they have to pay that back, which also preserves the trust fund to be taken by the bankster crooks as soon as they can get their hands on it.
Okay, well, here's my idea. Let's cut back on the military.
Totally.
We do not need to have bases all over the world. What is there, 40 bases, 100 bases? How many bases are there? And not outside of the U.S. There are 150 outside of the U.S.?
150.
Okay. So somewhere over 100. Okay. Yeah. And so even if you say, we have to protect Europe, I mean, I can't remember. I was stationed in Germany, and that was in Heidelberg, but that was not the only base, U.S. base in Germany. And that was in what they called West Germany at that time. And, it's like no country has a military base in the United States.
That's right. We would never put up with it.
And this is a big old country. So
we don't even the Republicans don't even want Chinese factories here to build batteries for electric cars.
They don't even want TikTok. And so we have a base in Taiwan and multiple places in Europe and in Japan and I think Australia. I mean, their little fingers are everywhere. And I don't understand. I understand it probably helps their economy to some extent. But I mean, just like the bases that closed here in the United States, of which there were many, but this would be the place where if you were going to have U.S. bases, this seems like the place to have it. But regardless,
well,
those cities that got their base closed down, they got over it and they got, in many cases, they did way better without having it there.
Yeah, well, and then you look at even when Obama was there, I mean, I looked at statistics of the United States spends more than the next 8 countries combined. And here's the thing. If we were to cut our military budget in to a quarter, that's about how much Russia and China together spend, a quarter of ours. And here's the thing is that of the top 20 countries, I looked at this, of the top 20 countries in military expenditures, 17 of them are allies. The only ones that are not are China and Russia. So are we supposed to think that So it's not only ours, it's plus 17 other allies who have admittedly much smaller military budgets, but
But
does that mean we need
they're
more?
our friends, right? They're quote unquote our friends.
They're our friends.
Yeah. They're like Facebook friends,
They're like two-faced friends,
you
Yeah, they're
know them, you've done something with them at one point, but you don't trust them any further than you can throw them.
Well, it's not that you don't trust them. You just probably couldn't throw them very far.
Well, I would say I like some of those quote unquote friends, like some of the ones in NATO, like Turkey and
Oh yeah,
Poland. They're a little iffy.
and
There's
what
some more.
about Hungary? Hungary's a little iffy.
Oh, Hungary, yeah, Hungary is another iffy one. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and apparently, once they're in, it's hard to get rid of those friends. You can't.
Yeah, they're kind of like
just hit delete friend.
they're like people who marry into the family and then they show up and park their RV in your driveway for 6 weeks and empty out into your septic and plug into your electrical, and they stay and eat you out of house and home, and they're happy to use your inside toilets and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes, that's the kind of neighbor they are, and we don't even like what's the one, is it Poland, that's like super Catholic?
Oh yeah.
Which the United States tries to, like, on the one hand say they don't like Catholics, but on the other hand also tries to be super Catholic. Like, isn't the entirety of the Supreme Court or just about Catholic?
It's true. All 6 of conservatives are Catholic, and I think two of
Mayor, is she Catholic?
I think she is, and yeah, for sure she is, and I don't know about Elena Kagan.
That's just really weird, because I know at one point in time, Catholic religion was considered a dying religion in the United States.
Well, and it was nobody wanted John F. Kennedy to be president because they thought he'd be beholden to the Pope.
And plus they were suspicious of Catholics. Period. I don't know.
But though that's weird, is that I think it was conservatives who made that charge, because when you look back at the 60s, in those days, most Democrats, 60% were Christians, identified as Christians, and about 60% of those identified as Catholics. So the vast majority of Democrats were Catholics in the 60s, and there were more people who identified as Christians when the Democratic Party was probably as liberal as it ever was in the 60s. People identified as Christians. But when the 70s came along and the TV evangelists all the TV evangelists were funded by the Koch brothers to make people say, God's got a blank check. I wish I had a Bible. God's got a blank check for you. You just have to sign. You just have to cash it. And all the prosperity doctrine and all the old ladies sending in their Social Security checks to Jimmy Swaggart and whoever else. Jerry Falwell and all the others, and Jim Baker and all the other fraudsters.
They still do that, though. Remember before I told you about that website, Gab?
Yeah.
And I looked at it again because I know when I told you about it, I had looked at it like within the previous few days, and it was just filled with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And so since we were going to have this little bromance between Rhonda and Elon, I just wanted to see if Elon was on there, but he wasn't. But they had like all this other, like, just like calling Target a groomer, and I'm like, what?
This is more among the charges of the Democrats spent all the money and we got to put a stop to it, and they're trying to. I mean, you could put this all in one bag of the Democrats ran up the debt. They're the big spenders, and they're trying to turn your kids gay and make them have abortions, which I don't know how that works out, but
right.
they're gay, but they want to have abortions. Well, wait a minute, I thought you already told us that gay people can't. I don't know. It gets the logic gets confusing, but here's the thing about woke. Somebody said something the other day that I heard, and I thought, here's what woke is. Woke is a concept. It's a word that means, and the back up the declaration that says, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, among those the right to happiness, liberty. I just had a complete brain fart.
That's all right.
Liberty and pursuit of happiness.
Maybe one of our viewers will call a right answer.
Right.
Correct us.
But the idea being that it is your individual choice to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Those are your individual choices. That's not an agenda. That's a concept. Anti-woke is an agenda, because anti-woke has political action behind it that says we're going to take away books you can't read. We're going to abridge your right to vote. We're going to disallow your right to reproductive choice.
Yeah.
We are going to disallow your gender identity will not be recognized.
We'll kill the gays. Yeah, that's on the agenda is violence.
Yeah, anti-woke is an agenda. Woke is not an agenda. Anti-woke and woke and woke, and that's the other thing. Wokeism is, I don't like the wokeism. Woke is just your right to your inalienable right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
And that is somewhat embodied in the 5th and 14th Amendments as your right to life, liberty, and property. But property kind of smears that idea. But life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are your individual choices. The anti-woke is what wants to take your individual choices away. That's the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Well, remember back in, I don't remember how long ago, but at some point in time, the Catholics were like crazed about people getting divorces. Look for that to come back. Like they were anti-divorce. Yeah, they were just like, oh, yeah, you can't get a divorce. Once you're married in the eyes of God, God is going to hang on to you. Well, you got a wife beater in there. That is sad, but that,
I'm not for beating up on the Catholics, but I will say this.
Well, that
for instance, the idea that being anti-abortion is a Christian position is simply wrong. There is nothing in the Bible that is against or prohibits reproductive choice or abortion. As a matter of fact, we can sort out the Old Testament by looking at in Israel, which is a Judeo country, is Judaism. They have abortion on demand, believe it or not. It's just like cable, it's on demand.
Oh,
yeah, they have abortion on demand, and the only place in the Bible where it actually addresses, to some degree, the idea of abortion is in Numbers chapter 5, starting verse 16. It's a prescription for how to cause an abortion should you think that your wife has been unfaithful and goes with child through infidelity. That's okay to have an abortion, but other than that, so the Catholic Church is against abortion, but there's a lot of Catholic doctrine that isn't in the Bible. I mean, just go back to the 60s. Remember the whole, you can't eat meat on Friday, you have fish on Fridays?
Yeah.
That, among probably hundreds, rather than dozens of doctrines throughout the centuries, has just gone by the wayside. It's just, so the Catholic Church, their edicts have come and gone, and they are many, many hundreds of them, not necessarily based on the Bible. So I don't find that a Catholic Church, an edict by the church, necessarily qualifies as Christian doctrine either. Whether or not the Catholic Church approves of abortion or not doesn't make it a Christian position per se.
Well, I just think that the extreme right of that Koch brothers and that crowd are just using the Catholic Church in general as a tool. to achieve their extreme.
Yeah, their economic dominance is what they really want. And so when we get back to the debt ceiling, so let's say that a week from today, we're in the same position where, and this is the important point, the Kevin McCarthy is this idea that the media has framed up the argument as being, Kevin McCarthy versus President Biden couldn't be more further from the truth, because Kevin McCarthy seems to have forgotten his position in the in the scheme of federal powers. He's the leader of half of one branch of government, the Congress. The Congress has yet to pass a bill with regard to the debt ceiling or the expenditures, the appropriations. They haven't put anything on President Biden's desk. So it's really not, it's out of his hands. Biden cannot exercise any of his
not only that, it's not going to happen. The Senate's not going to agree to that.
That's right. And so it's the House of Representatives can't just push themselves around and say, we're the tough guys. Everybody has to, we passed a debt ceiling bill resolution. Well, the Senate is not obligated to. They're the same branch of government. The fact that there's a partisan division between them doesn't dissuade it being a political question of the exercising of powers. The Congress must speak as one voice before the president can, frankly, do what normally is done, is the president signs the bill or vetoes the bill. But if they do not, and the Constitution does say in the 14th Amendment, Section 4, the debt of the United States shall not be questioned. If we're in the same position next Thursday, then President Biden will have no choice in upholding his oath of office or to uphold the Constitution, but to make an executive order for the Treasury Secretary to continue to make payments on the debt so as we don't default. That's going to go to I'm sure Kevin McCarthy will challenge that in the Supreme Court. And here's the juicy part. I say it's a political question, which basically means that it's not justiciable in the court. The courts say a political question is for you guys to work out between the Constitution assigns those powers to the non-judicial judicial branches of government, the president and the Congress. But this court, I have heard people agree, will probably decide, no, we're going to take it up. And we're going to have half of the Congress and the Supreme Court preventing the president of the United States from protecting the good faith and credit of the United States of America. And that's not a political question. That's our political answer for the day, that the whole damn thing is corrupt. And that's why they're doing this. It's all a political stunt. It has nothing to do with the debt ceiling or any cuts in appropriations. It's a stunt.
But that would be going nuclear, doing that scenario. That would just the financial fallout would be extreme.
Yeah, it will be. But here's the funny thing.
Kill the market.
It'll kill. You want to see inflation come down? You'll see it, because nobody will have anything.
You'll see the thing that you hate more than inflation, Mr. Deflation.
Deflation, you got it right.
Deflation, you don't want to see.
No, deflation, that's where nobody has any money. I mean, at least when you have inflation is too much money, too many dollars chasing too few goods. Right. Deflation is just the opposite. Too few dollars. Nobody has any money to even buy what goods are out there.
Right. Well, that's like in 2009 when they had the housing crash, and houses that were worth $500,000 or $1 million or whatever, all of a sudden worth $100,000.
And then you see what happens
is when you still had the mortgage,
the whole economy
or $1 million.
The whole economy contracts, because if nobody has any money, then people have to lower their prices so that they can sell something, and the economy just keeps contracting, and that's what happened during the Great Depression. Is the economy contracted 8.8% per year for 4 years. And that's where we were in 1932 when Franklin Roosevelt was elected president. And then he reversed that and regained 8.8%, not only for the next 4 years and got all of that growth back, but for the next 12 years.
Yeah,
It's
but
Franklin
how
Roosevelt's
did he
politics.
do it? Using progressive policies that people want to use today.
Yeah, that's right. And that the right wing only wants to control all the money, and they're going to see. And this is why it doesn't make sense that if they want to make Biden look bad so that Trump can get back in office for the sole purpose of protecting himself and regaining official immunity for all of his crimes, is that if Donald Trump were to get back in office, he's going to be president of a crashed country in a crashed world.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah.
And there would be some more war stuff thrown in there
There
too.
would be absolutely a lot more pressures like that. That doesn't bid. This is what leads to revolutions. It's this kind of stuff that does lead to revolutions, and revolutions generally don't really work out very well. It's just, it's like
Well, they're long term. That's
they're
not
long term and they're
happens in right away, like how you want. If it even happens how you want it to, it doesn't happen right away. So, yeah. So it's really kind of in the hands of the Supreme Court staying out of it, and
it really will be, because if you know what the political question is based on whether or not, first of all, the economy or the Constitution assigns these powers to the non-judicial branches for them to deal with the matter at hand, and whether or not the other powers, the president and the Congress, have fully exercised their constitutional powers. If the Congress can't even pass a bill, in other words, if McCarthy can't even get his damn resolution through the Senate,
he's
then
not going to.
obviously that's not exercising the most basic of constitutional power, which is passing a bill. And so the president's response, the president can exercise constitutional powers of either, if there were a bill, either signing it or vetoing it, and then the Congress could again check back and say, well, we're going to override your veto if they wanted to. But if they don't have a bill, then the president has to make an executive order. And to say that, no, if the court were to say, no, we're not going to allow that. We're not going to allow the president to pay the national debt. We're going to side with half of one branch of the government and say no. And that would be the only purpose, would be to stop the president from continuing payments on the national debt, because they can have nothing to say about the appropriations. The court can't order appropriations or cuts in that. They can only order that the president cannot pay the national debt.
Right. Yeah. They can't say what he
has to cut.
Yeah.
No, they can't say that. So this would be a complete mess. And if the court, we will find out in the answer to that question, which we will probably find, if the court is really nothing but a political ringer, which I think they are, they will be showing us. That will be our political answer. They will show us what they're really made of.
I know.
Right here. And we need to know that as a nation. We need to know just what kind of court we have.
Well, and even if John Roberts wants to stop it, he can't do it by himself.
Yeah, he could lose.
Yeah.
Even if he joined the other the three justices, the three women, or the other three women. Not the handmaiden woman, but
all right. Well, guess what? We are done.
Is the show over?
Nothing like some debt ceiling fun to.
Well, we visited the Catholics, and we went woke for a few minutes.
Just the Catholics, just almost everybody. I mean, it wasn't fair and square. We didn't diss Adam Schiff or anything like that, but he's ready for it. He can take it. We'll get him next time.
No, we'll get him next time.
I mean, I don't know what he did wrong, but there's got to be something. I mean, I know people tell me, what a bunch of liars.
Yeah. It's all big lie. Okay.
All right. So thanks for joining us, whoever you nameless people are. And we'll see you next time for
Kitchen Table Progressive.
For maybe more debt ceiling fun. Wouldn't it be great if we could talk about some other part of the house, but apparently we cannot. So au revoir. This has been Joyce Nance, and that's
Paul Richardson.
And we'll catch you.
We are Kitchen Table Progressive.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. He said that in a very firm, manly voice.
Yes.
All right.